Session to order. Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. For us, our agenda, board members, we have a motion on the agenda items.
Can we add something to it?
Would you like to add, I guess?
Because the soccer season's getting ready to start, I wanted to add removing the trespass order from Hamlin Corner.
I'm sorry, that's out of the scope of the board right now.
Okay.
So
That's a legal issue.
bring that up with Mr. after the meeting.
Okay.
And that's blindside the superintendent.
Well, it was I thought about it late last night because I found out
I
that.
heard from you today, I wish you would have told me so.
Okay.
Please don't do that again.
So I'm still,
I move to approve the review agenda items of the August 16, 2023 regular school board meeting as presented.
here's a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Approval minutes.
I move to approve the meeting minutes of July 12, 2023 regular session board meeting as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, superintendent, good news.
Well, first of all, we had some new business managers, so I want to introduce her. She has to go to another meeting, so we got her in for a little bit. So please, our new business manager, Ann Crumrine. The nice thing about her, she comes with a plethora of experiences. So she's actually been on the school board. She's actually been on the budget committee. So we're pretty excited. And then, of course, she's a treasurer for the county. So we are working very fervently with them to make sure there's our partnerships in place to work for transition. I want to praise Joey for doing a good job for taking over, and those two are starting tomorrow together to get things covered up. So we're from there. So, Ann, anything you want to say?
I just look forward to the opportunity and getting back into education. I actually started at the high school library in, I think it was 1998.
There you go.
So it's a wonderful opportunity to get back and support education. I think it's very valuable in our, I'm just looking forward to it.
And one of the things I'm excited about, her last, you always ask people any questions for us, about interviews. And the question she had was, well, I'd like to know if I can come work and teach some of the kids about finance and things. I mean, that's the kind of person we just hired. So we're very excited about that. It's someone who cares about education, so thank you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, thank you, and we'll let you go for now.
All right, thank you for the time.
So going down the agenda, Mr. Chairman, we have OSBA board training report. We had a very nice training today, very informative. We have, working on a draft on the board working agreements for the board and the superintendent. So we have a good, I can't say it right now. Homogeneous experience and a good working relationship. So we're excited about that. Also, Teresa Stein had to go. She had the opportunity to go to training for weekends, so we appreciate that. She had any comments? I think today we heard a lot of it.
Yeah, I heard a lot of it again, but I think the most important thing that I took away from the conference is that once we vote as a group, that's the answer. You can't tell people, well, I didn't vote for it, I don't know, If it comes out of here and we voted for it, it's we own it.
So basically, once a board makes an action, we all support it.
Okay.
That's a good one. But I thought we had a good training today. Steve Kelly is the head trainer for OSBA, and luckily we got him before he retired, so we found out he's retiring in September, so we were very fortunate to have that. And I appreciate the board taking the time. It's a half day, 4 hours of straight sitting, so I appreciate that. So that was worthwhile. The second thing I want to mention on here is the board stipend. So that was a new law, and I know, Ms. Shine, you heard that in your workshop as well. So some boards are doing it, some boards are not. It's up to the school board here. So what will happen, you guys talk it over, and if you guys, we make that discussion item next month, and you all get an action item. So that way, if you decide to do it, you need to decide if you're up to $500 a month per board member, so you can determine the amount or not. And if 3 board members pass that you are going to pay a stipend, then we will make that happen retroactive for July. and then the amount will also be based on what you guys say, up to 500.
Yeah, it all has to be the same.
Yeah, it'll also be the same. So I can't pay somebody 100 or 200.
So they'll say, oh, I don't want it.
Right. So, and then if the board does it, then one board member does not have to take the stipend, I understand, but they have to.
Well, they have to take the stipend, but they can give it back.
They can give it back.
So kind of weird the way they
Donate
say
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes right back to the board saying that I have to take it, but I'm going to give it back. That way, I just
Everybody
got,
has to be the same.
yeah, all the same. And we have not got we're supposed to get it today, and I've not got to the email because I wasn't there. We got all the guidelines for you, and I'll share that for you before the board meeting. As soon as I get it, I'll share it with you. Okay, so the 4-day school week standard report. So I have my file here, I'm going all the way through the blue, and it's rather massive. We have a lot of information going there. So our plan is, I want to talk about that, but I also had a couple comments from these community members, and I asked a couple of them to come in and give their opinion, just to show you that we have a lot of things we have to address. So I'm going to turn a little time over, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, to the Sims.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Tandy, thank you for our conversation this morning. I'm Lauren Sims, and I saw on the agenda that for today's meeting that there would be an action item to impose the 4-day school week at the second semester, and that's now been revised. And further, post our conversation, I understand that there's going to be a committee moving forward to implement that. And as my husband and I were visiting yesterday evening with the school year fast approaching, and then in reading that, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, that's a really big change to happen mid-year. We're neither for nor against the 5-day week or 4-day week transition, and we've reached out to a couple of our friends in neighboring communities who work or who are on the school board and have the 4-day week school week, and they like it, they love it very much so, and also understanding the operational costs, savings that could be, potential to our district, which every dollar counts. But then slowing down and realizing what a change like that would do for our students, especially staff, administrators, educators, community members, mid-year. It seems forceful to do so, to have such an upheave. I mean, just in noting, as Tandy and I discussed this morning, what a simple 1-hour change twice a year makes to all of our schedules. So to completely change.
You mean the time change?
Yeah, just the daylight savings time, just how that, affects all of us, from adults to children especially. So the 4-day-a-week school week to, again, implement mid-year seems almost reckless, to potential disaster. And so just keeping in mind that all of us have children or are educators of children that are in this room and their best interests in mind. It's our job to advocate and think about them. Not everything that happens in large cities is applicable here in a small community, and also keeping in mind the divisiveness that's happening in this community all around. And so in moving forward, knowing all of the issues at hand, both issues that are real issues and issues that are distractions, more so than ever, it's in hopes that we can move forward in a healthier way and also in a prudent way, in, again, keeping our kids as the number one option. So those are my thoughts. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
And I wanted her to take that time because I wrote down the information, but sometimes it's better for the real person to come in and articulate it. And I think she's showing a sign that I'm hearing multiple times from people. So I wanted to go through the process with everybody right now so everyone understands how we're looking at it. So the board can go there and make sure we go forward with it. So we have committee work going. We want to work with the unions on both sides to make sure that everyone's involved with this. So at our orientation, we have all the staff. We're going to ask any staff member who wants to be part of a committee, and we'll go from there. We want to get ownership on this process all the way through and cover all the details, so that way the board, I guarantee even if we're going to spend the whole year working on this and implementing it or whatever time it takes, but it's still going to have 1 or 2 issues we're going to miss. But we're going to do our best to make that minor issues. And also that everyone says, oh, how did we miss that? How did we do it for 100 people? So we're going to have multiple committees on that, and whoever, how many they want to be, everyone who wants to be involved will be. And if you want to be involved, let myself know and Ms. Gerber know, and we'll be glad to put you on the list. And then I'll bring it to the board here next month, and then I'll ask them, because I'll have a number of them, and And then the board will appoint one master committee who will come back and appoint, who will come back and report to the board where we're at. So that's the plan there to make it work. Does that sound presentable to the board? Okay. So I'll have all that for you. But we want to make sure that we honor everyone, tradition, the big change. And I like your time analogy. Thank you for that, because it is, you know, after you're that sleep, an hour, it just messes up. This is going to be a big one. This is awesome. We have a very big change happening already now with the early release, you know, on Fridays now rather than Wednesdays. So that's our first big change. So we have a big one coming. So I thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys coming in. So I appreciate the board that let me break something in. Rather than write it down and get it right, I wanted to make sure that the site was given. Any questions about that?
I have a question. Is it possible that it will happen this school year?
Well, the key thing is, if it does happen this year, my thing would be is because the union and the teachers are driving,
Okay.
parents, because the committee needs to be that way.
Okay.
And I think that would make everybody feel more comfortable. But if they feel that strong about it, that means we've answered all their questions and concerns.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Great question, thank you. So if I move on to the next one? Okay, so moving right along, the facilities. So the great bat caper has been taken care of. So we were short multiple thousands of bats that were in the building for decades, and they're gone, and that was taken care of environmentally. So now we're waiting for our final ceiling tiles to come in, everything else has been sealed. So we're gonna put those in there, and the smell and everything is taken care of, and the environmental hazard is gone. So it's sealed up so bats will not come back to that particular building. So I want to make sure that you know that one. I want to thank our maintenance crew for doing that. That was a lot of work, a lot of extra training, the mask. It was very hot. Luckily, we got it during a cooler period. I'm glad it's not during this time. I know, it was way too hot. Also want to mention that if you have a look at the grounds have been stepped up the last few weeks. It really looks a lot better. And the custodial crew, I want to point out details that they did. And a lot of people miss this, but if you haven't seen the custodial floors, it's absolutely phenomenal. The best floors I've ever seen in our districts that I've been here. Also behind you, they painted that wall. They did a really good job, and it's exciting to see little aesthetic things we're going to be putting on there. Some of our ex-interviews from the spring talked about our facilities, and we need to make sure we start taking care of little things. And sometimes just a little paint will work. So I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen up there. Just we have one more step for that, so we'll let you figure that out in a few weeks. We have something even more special. So I'm really excited with our crew. Thanks to the maintenance crew and the custodial crew for all the work they did to make the buildings. And we're not done yet. We'll have it ready for school. Restructuring district office. So what we've done there is we found out that when Ms. Crumrine's coming on there, we found out we need to move some things around. So I'm going to have an HR person who will also do accounts receivable and do some other work there that's already been done. And then we have a new board secretary and a new secretary for the district office. So answer the phones. And whenever, when you took over, I think there were 2 people in your job. We haven't done that yet. And then we had another person in the back. So right now, Patty Mills has been with us a long time, great employee. And by the way, publicly, I want to praise Patty Mills. Without her stepping up right now and working extra, her and I worked past 5 last night, and she got there early. She's working way past her hours. She has saved our district right now. So if you see her, please make sure you give her a pat on the back. Absolutely incredible. I mean, she has stepped up and she's helped Joey. Would you agree? I mean, she's been incredible. So I just want to make sure you let me know that. So that being said, we're trying to make it streamlined. So we hired Jordan Warner. She'll be on the board packet next month. Got her from the hospital as a board secretary. So you'll meet her and she'll be going to do that. You'll be training her all the way through to help in that job. So we're excited about that one. And then we have some, Tara Counts' spot has gone. We finally were able to fill that spot, and we officially got a person today accept that position. And we'll put that on the board, we'll let the board know about that next month. So we're excited about that. Unfortunately, our hospital is going through some tough times. We have some unbelievable applicants coming from the hospital. So we got some really talented people that we're blessed with that. It's not the way I wanted to bless them. So we're still hoping and praying that the hospital is able to get that taken care of and take care of our community. So I just wanted to say that we got some good people coming, but I'm sad that's coming to that reason. That's the restructuring on that, so we're going to be redoing some walls and things like that. I also hired Stace Andrews, you remember that last month, and we really got some great stuff going with our buses. So we got new cameras going in our buses. We also have all the pads, so we'll be able to know how fast our buses are going, where they're going, and we'll be able to make sure a kid gets picked up. So we'll be able to let the driver know if a kid's been added that day or somebody's not going to be there. So it's good. Got some great communication. It's going to be great safety for our kids. It's also going to be great safety for our bus drivers. So we're very excited about this addition, and I thank the board for being progressive enough to let us do that. So we're excited about that. So it's going through, and Stacy's done a great job already. Him and I met today, and I really feel that we've got captured everything wonderfully in that one.
Mr. Carter, real quick.
Yes.
You got something?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Board member have something?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, I just had some questions. So you currently, not including you, have, or before today, have 3 positions in your office?
We only have 3.
Okay.
So now
And now you're looking
what we're adding is we're moving her to HR, which is what she's been doing. And we haven't had anyone do the secretarial piece because no one's answering the phone. So the problem is, I need to get a backup. What we've discovered is there's nobody taking backup. And Patty, we're on borrowed time with Miss Mills, so I'm trying to get a backup person. So
okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So then we'll have a total of 5 people in there?
it'd be 4.5.
4.5.
Because we've not restaffed it, because we lost a panel people we also lost a secretary,
Okay.
and now we're putting those back in.
Okay, so then, because I got kind of confused looking at stuff when I was, reading the board packet, and then you telling me about this stuff, so I was looking at stuff. And so I just had some questions on it and reviewing the policy like we're supposed to do. And so, for the new office positions, and I realize that you're allowed to create positions to help make stuff run better, but,
I'm not creating new positions, I'm filling positions that have not been filled in a while.
but the HR position is a new position, correct?
Well, what we did before, there were 2 people before, and we've not had that in the last 6+ years. So
Okay.
it's hit a place where it's critical, we're not getting reports done in time.
Okay,
And the reports have increased dramatically, and we have ESSER money and other monies that we can use to help pay for that.
so do we get to find out about the candidates recommended for the job?
I just told you on Jordan Warner, she will be on the next board packet, we just offered the job this afternoon.
Okay,
The other person, I've offered the job for, whenever she officially gets it done, then I will make sure the board's on the back, like normal, following policies and procedures.
well, because the policy on it, number CC, is that the superintendent shall submit all candidates recommended for the district jobs, and the board will consider the recommendation and approve hiring at its discretion. So that's why
I'm not
it's
hiring
just-
a new person, I'm reassigning. The only person I'm bringing in is the secretary, which was already there, and that's a classified, I'm allowed to do that without board permission.
Okay. No, because when you talked to me, you said you created this new HR position, and so that's why.
Sorry,
it was-
particularly its creation is I restructured the district office.
Okay. Okay, so, and that's why I was asking for the
No
clarification.
problem. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. I do know we have to, and it's up to us to approve the salaries and the benefits, correct?
None of these positions is still managerial rights. I'm following all contractors, so we're in union,
Okay.
and the others is typical all the way through for the certified following the state.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope, because I just thought that this secretary is confidential, so that.
We've had that range before, she was there before your time, so we had one there that left in December.
Okay. And that's
Did I
it?
answer everything?
Yep.
Okay, moving right along then, let's see, where was I at? I'm sorry, I lost it. 6, okay, district inventory. So on the district inventory discussion, so HR will now do that, and our exit interviews will also go through HR, because that way we get the legal requirements that we don't have to worry about for some of the things that we had concern about. So that way, if they have, as they exit out, they will not have to, if they want to mention something about myself or administrators, or go through HR. So it gives us one more step. I think that answers some of the questions somebody had. So I want to address those 2 issues, and that's what I had on that. Any other questions before I move to the last item? Okay, the last item. This item breaks my heart because it's indicative of our society a little bit. I'm not going to make any political comments, but I'm going to point out that COVID's really took a turn, and it's really made it difficult for our kids. And I can only imagine, some of the rites of passage that some of us got to enjoy in high school are taken away. So what our kids unfortunately have done is they're taking on some more risky behaviors. And if you look at our Healthy Teen Survey, a lot more drug use, a lot more alcohol use, and a lot more sexual activity. So that being stated, and I know that you and I have talked about it because you went through it thoroughly as well with me, and we have some programs that we got in place, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to make sure the community knows about it, but we really need to make sure that we get it out to our community and get it out to our kids that certain behaviors have long-term consequences, and that alcohol use is really illegal. And we got to make it that way. We also got to help our parents and some of our other adults who are not parents, but they have influence of our children not to provide alcohol. And that's what's actually in the survey. If you look at it, there's children are saying it's almost 80% said they have access to alcohol by an adult. So when I look at that, that breaks my heart. So I need to come back and say, as a parent, I'm a grandparent now, I'm still a parent, but I really don't want my grandchildren to be provided alcohol. So I think it's up to parents, it's a woman's right, whatever that is, but still it's illegal. And right now, I think I summarized, unfortunately I summarized the Healthy Teen Survey. Now, 3 positive parts about the Healthy Teen Survey. They felt that they have caring adults they can talk to in the building. That's huge. And that was over 86% of our kids felt they have someone to talk to in the building, which is the #1 factor to help kids be resilient. Second thing I noticed is they also feel that they have a system they know who to talk to if they need some help. So I think that's a really good thing, and I appreciate the success room the board has let us put in there. I know it costs us money, but we have the Castros and they're trained that system, and we saw the report last year. That's absolutely marvelous. So I'm really happy about that. Third thing, they also felt they were cared, their school cares about them. So those are the 3 big ones that I got out of the survey. So I know I hit the negative first, but it's hard to get around the negative, but the positive is huge. So I want to make sure I let that know. And if you haven't spent time on that survey, please take time to look at it. And if you have any questions or any suggestions you might have or programs you might hear about, please let the administration or myself know. We got to be a little more proactive about this one. But I mean, if I was going to give one more message, and I'll publicly say it, the message here is right now is that adults do not have the right to give minors alcohol or drugs. It's not the best benefit. They're not mentally ready for it, and their brains aren't developed till they're 25. So there you go. That's my political soapbox, but it's also my superintendent's soapbox. Alcohol and drugs really are not beneficial to kids. Simple. Any questions?
I did look at it, and I think also on a lot of these, I should say not all, but a lot, our answers were much more positive than the state. And not all, again.
We had 17 categories, a great point, and I appreciate that, Mr. Bryan. That's good positive. There's 17 areas that we were higher, better access to the state. So I should probably preface things like that first. But I'm so distraught about the drugs and alcohol that hurts. But I appreciate that's really a great point. Thank you.
Other than that, kind of in agreement on, this.
Any other questions the board may have? It's been a very productive summer. We're ready for kids. So we have orientation coming up, and you guys have seen that. We're hoping you're going to make the staff breakfast. We'll actually get your feet fed, so that's going to be good. And we also, if you have a chance to say something to the whole staff, you can. I also want to mention we have training on the 28th, and that's Mr. Stratton. I want to thank him publicly for that, because ESDs has it. I'm not I'm a teacher, not a therapist, and that's really great training. That's going to be wonderful for us. So our staff is going through that. Then we have a special guest speaker for how to deal with difficult parents, how to deal with difficult staff members, how to deal with difficult children, and how to be positive and make the year. And that's a special speaker we have coming, Andrew Murata. You can look him up online. It's absolutely a wonderful speaker. He's been around the entire state. He's from New York, and he's 3 other districts have brought him in, so he'll be with our district the whole day on the 29th. We've also invited North Lake. North Lake is bringing their teachers. We couldn't accommodate their entire staff, but it's for teachers and for administrators, so we're excited to bring them in. So I hope you're able to make those. You're invited as board members to attend any of those you want. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Number 5, do we have any? Okay. Number 6, reports. The Kindness Project.
So I am Smith Alves, and I have for the last 2 years taught at the elementary school in town at 6th grade, and I was the ASB supervisor. And 2 years ago, some girls came to me. They were sick and tired of the bathroom being closed because it's being vandalized. And so they brought this idea. I brought it to Susan. Susan said, nope, that's not me. Try Mr. Carter. And so the ASB got together. They made a really nice presentation. They created a cute little PowerPoint. And it's finally come to fruition. And I just wanted to show you guys.
By the way, I disagree. It wasn't good. It was fat. It was a fabulous presentation.
We've got some pictures, and I know they're in your board book, but I just printed them out so you guys can see them a little bit better. This is the girls' bathroom on, this is the south side?
South side.
This, whatever. I don't teach geography. But they, Jackie and I spent a lot of time in June when it was quite hot in there painting, and painting bathroom stalls is not easy. It sucks with the paint. But we had a $750 grant. You guys can see it. We have a $750 grant. We spent about $280 of it. And our goal is, and I'm sure Jackie, if she was here, she would say the same thing. We're going to paint the boys' bathroom. We're not going to paint the stalls. We want to do something kind of fun over the urinals. Not quite sure what that's going to be yet, but it'd be like a weekend project. And then we would really like to do the others. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be in town anymore, so I would hope that would continue, and I can come down on the weekends, I will. But they're just really excited, and I'm so excited for the kids to come to town and see, because it just looks so awesome. You walk in there, it doesn't even look like a bathroom. I'll just pass these down so you guys can see them too. Look through them. And that's really all I have. It's done. That bathroom is done. Feel free to stop and stop, obviously. But just take a look at it. It looks so good. It's just so exciting. Good job. Thank you.
Well, thank you, that looks great.
Mr. Chairman, our vice chair at the time, Mr. Hummel, actually got to see some of the presentation. He agreed with me. He said, even if we can't afford for the district, we're going to get private funds to get this project. We were ready to elect all the ASB officers who made this presentation as our presidents and the Congress if they were that good. So I hope.
Yeah, little Emery Johnson, it was her idea. So
our future's in good
our
hands.
future little president.
Anyway, thank you.
All right, excellent. Let's move on to number 2. Farm report.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Stevenson, and this is...
What was that last name again?
Oh yeah, I just got married on Saturday, so I'm Mrs. Stevenson now, I'm no longer Miss Wright. But yeah, so we just wanted to present our little ag farm report over what's going on currently, but also since we have so many new faces in the school board, we also want to let you guys know like what some plans have already been implemented in the previous school board. And I believe this might be your guys' board packets. And so the ag farm really are planning on expanding it more than just the 150-acre grass hay that we have, but we also want to utilize it as a facility center, as like a classroom to have animals out there for our students. And so our ultimate goal is to basically create a challenging learning environment and educational experiences, because with us being in a small town of Lakeview, it's hard to travel outside the city and also get somewhere within an hour or less, because there's not really a whole lot around us. And so we want to provide a facility here for our students, but also for elementary students in the community. And so in our PowerPoint, we listed so many different benefits and possible activities. I won't go over every single one, because there's over 20 of them. But I hope you guys get the point of what really, what good this ag farm will do for our students in the future. And so our ag program and admin and superintendent, we all discussed together what our 5-year plan will look like. And that's the overall view, but we will go over each one individually. And so moving on to that next slide where it talks about responsibilities, we're splitting it up between our 3 teachers of our program, because we are a 3-teacher program. And so Danae, of course, will be handling the horticulture side of things, because I am not a plant person, I'm an animal person. And then we have our new shop teacher, Roger Holtzman, which will be utilizing his classes to do different equipment maintenance, maybe driver driving certification. We're hoping to build some corrals as well. And then myself, of course, will handle anything of the ag farm or ag farm related. So going specifically about what we have implemented already. So this year we looked into some bids to continue leasing out our ag farm, because right now we don't have the capability of our students or myself running it. So we were reaching out to community members to see, hey, is there anyone interested in leasing our ag farm in terms of running the wheel line sign and the side with the pivot. And so we had 2 people bid on it, and I actually had my ag business class look at the different bids, and they were the ones that made that decision. Because again, I want this ag farm to be really student-based, not just based on what we think, it's based on what they think. And so they went ahead and did a lease with the Deckers, and we are planning on doing calendar year-to-year lease because plans keep changing every single year, and we want to make sure if we continue doing a lease, it still fits in our program. And then we also purchased a little new skid steer with 6 different implements. That was in June, and so Mr. Carter was able to find a skid steer for us with the help of Quinn McKay. He's been in so much help with our program as well, finding the different equipment, and we hope to utilize that with this new barn that we're implementing. And so that's the building that's going to be hopefully be placed in there in August. It's all determined on our contractors that we have. Right now, we're just waiting for the people that we have contracted for the concrete. It's really based on their timeline at this point because they're super, super busy. So we're hoping by August we have the concrete laid and then the barn will be built as well. And I believe it's, Pardue for concrete and Jasco for the building. Yes. So we're hoping by August. And then we're hoping this year as well, we will have our shop classes build corrals. And so I thought that would be a really great learning opportunity for our students to really start something with a small project and eventually reach out to the community of having our students build their corrals as well. And then I've been already in contact with Salt Creek. I thought it would be good to find someone local to help with various different equipment like a loading tub, a chute, and a lead up as well in the facility because we are hoping to run the cattle through that as well. And then continue planning out the layout of the barn facility with the work of our maintenance crew, for example, like drains, electricity, whatever else we may need. And so that is our year plan for this year. So year 2, we'll do a little bit more research on prices of other equipment. I already went through our state with Perkins, asking them if they could provide us a ultrasound. And also looking into different AI equipment, artificial insemination, by the way, if you guys don't know what AI means. And so that's something that I'm teaching right now. Reproduction is basically my forte, and I've been teaching students about that, and they're so bad about it. So a little tidbit on that. And then other equipment we may need. And then I'll have Mrs. Bauer discuss more about this, but we would also like to implement our horticulture class to have a pumpkin patch.
So one of the things we would like to do is have a small pumpkin patch for the students to practice learning about soil science, and it could be something that we can incorporate with our elementary students. So with pumpkins, it's going to be hit and miss here. We've had good luck with them down at the school greenhouse, just on a small scale. But it's something the kids thought could be really fun to experiment with and see what happens, and then potentially, get the elementary students out, even maybe work with the culinary department to make a little fall festival day out of it. So could be something that we could see incorporated through a lot of different areas. But our first step would just be probably doing some soil testing, seeing where our nutrient level is out there, doing some exploration with how many pumpkins we can plant on an acre. We don't want to go big scale, but just something that would be small scale for the kids to experiment with, basically.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, our tenants are leasing it right now is by calendar year, and so we are hoping to meet with them in the fall because of those annual crops. That's a really good time to start planning for that, and so we told them let's go ahead and meet first thing September, October, whatever's convenient for them, to see if we could continue renewing that lease for next year, and then also talk about the plan of where we really want to have that pumpkin patch out there, because again, we have to figure out a good spot for it and soil testing, and if it's going to be a really great thing for our community too. So that's it for the next 2 years. I could go on for the next years, but it's pretty self-explanatory in that slides. And so if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Mrs. Bauer, and I'm more than willing to sit down with you guys and discuss more about our plan.
So when you guys have your FFA board meetings and all that, will you make ssure you let us know so I can let the board know, so if they want to attend, see it, that'd be great.
Yeah, we have an advisory committee, and I try to meet with them twice a year, once during this first half of the year, and then the second half of the year. Sam.
And we did reach out to Dr. Reynold Gardner, who is our state FFA advisor and kind of our CTE coordinator at the Oregon Department of Education, to see if he could give us a number on how many other schools have ag farms and labs. He said he didn't have that data, but he did have a quote, he said, to share with you all, just to know that this is something that statewide has become a huge part of agriculture programs. He said the agriculture education model and the agriculture science and technology program of study is built upon experiential learning. The instructional facilities, which include classroom, greenhouse, mechanical, laboratory, animal science facilities, and/or land laboratory, should provide ample opportunity for students to learn through hands-on or contextual education experiences. A land laboratory that replicates current and relevant agriculture and natural resource production practices is the most effective way for students to internalize educational standards that the Agriculture Science and Technology program of study is built upon. All agriculture science and technology programs should aspire to have and maintain a current industry-based land laboratory for students. So that's from Dr. Reynold.
Excellent. Anything else? I appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Item number 3, building principals report. Let's go first.
Okay, so I have a lot of words today, so I provided a copy of my principal's report at your tables for you to look at. Registration went really well this year, and our approximate current enrollment is listed as number 1 on my report. We have approximately 120 middle school students and 272 high school students for a total of 392 at this point. The way we did registration, we had a really good flow and process for it to help families navigate and complete all the steps in the process, and especially with our new system, kind of learning how to navigate that together as a staff as well. And students were able to get their lockers and their schedules, and I saw a lot of very excited students and families, and that's what I like to see. I mentioned earlier at the board training today that school's my favorite place to be. I just love being in school, and the beginning, don't laugh at me, the beginning of the year is my favorite time because it's a clean slate, fresh start, so many endless opportunities and possibilities for our students. I wanted to introduce all of our new hires as well as announce some changes in positions for next year. So we have Jamie Patterson, who was with us last year, but she's in a new role this year as middle school health and 7th grade science teacher. Mariah Marietta doing art and music. We have Melissa Maxwell doing English and leadership. Carlos Soto, who was with us last year, but he's now teaching Spanish. We have Andy Rigg in a new role as our athletic director. John Callahan teaching math. Rachel Mooney teaching science. Kyle Dieter is our new library manager, media specialist. Roger Holzman teaching shop. Jonathan Squires teaching English. We have Jeff Cappy, who is in a new role. He was with us last year, but he's now going to be teaching sports medicine and be our athletic assistant. We have Tiana Hamilton in a new role. She was with us last year, but now she's teaching social studies. Nate Sawin, and I was super excited about this. He's subbed in the district for many years, and we finally were able to get him in a permanent position with math and special education. We have Zach Anderson for PE. We have Christy Gill as a new special education paraprofessional. And then Amanda Anderson, who we also had last year, but in a new role as our registrar. So lots of really exciting changes and new excited people to join our team. One thing I wanted to share with you also is we went with a new company this year for our student planners, and I'm really impressed with how they turned out, so I wanted to share one and pass it around so you guys can kind of take a look. And the artwork on the front was done by one of our students who graduated last year, Bertha Tapia Reyes. So
So for the new board members, this is the planners, and on these planners, they have the handbook in them. They're also used as their hall passes. That also helps them out to make sure that they are keeping track of their assignments, so it's a calendar as well. So it's free, and it's got basic information, basic math, things like that, little calculations on there, periodic table.
Study
Okay.
skills and things, yeah.
This fun stuff.
And I like the color coordination in there that we didn't have in past years. That makes me excited. We also have a new math curriculum this year. We'll be utilizing the Savas curriculum at the high school, and then the EdGems at the middle school. And the EdGems is actually a curriculum written by a longtime classroom teacher and math consultant that has served in hundreds of districts in Oregon. So it's a local curriculum, and we're really excited about
And
that.
we're all attached to state standards.
Yes. For AVID, we had several of our teachers that went to an AVID training at the end of June to learn a little bit more about how AVID supports academic engagement and in their content area, how they can use AVID strategies and help us as AVID school-wide. It was a good opportunity to get more of our teachers trained and support our, like I said, school-wide AVID goal. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Student Success Room, which Mr. Carter mentioned earlier as well, and just kind of brag on that a little bit. So the Castros, David Castro and Stephanie Castro, are the ones who run the Student Success Room. And it just got started 2 years ago when I first started in the building as the principal. And we were all kind of unsure what that was going to look like, never having seen one before. But they have done an outstanding job just growing this room. They are serving over 100 of our students. The purpose of the room is to teach students how to self-regulate so that they can be more successful in their classes and in their future lives. There's different stations that students can use. They set a timer for 15 minutes so that they can spend 15 minutes kind of regulating their emotions and how they're feeling, and they can get back to class. Some of the stations include, there's a workout station, there's music stations, there's tactile stations, all kinds of different stations. There's calming stations with different things that they can lay on or sit on. There's quiet music. There's a fish tank on the screen. It's just a very calming atmosphere. They visited a lot of different schools in Oregon last year to get some ideas for how to develop the room, just because we were unsure at first on how to get it started. And so they got a lot of ideas from other schools. And now our Student Success Room is actually being talked about by other districts and departments in the state of Oregon. So something that we're really proud of at the high school. We're also offering a middle school soft start this year. It's going to be on August 30th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And it's for all of our 7th grade students who want to come in and have an opportunity to go through their schedules from class to class prior to the first day of school. So they'll spend 15 minutes in each of their classes. There's a 5-minute passing time, which is the same as it would be during a normal school day. So they kind of have that time to practice the transition from class to class. And then they also will have an opportunity to see our new 7th grade hub that we've worked really hard to create in order to facilitate more separation between middle school and high school, since we are 7 through 12, but trying to kind of keep those middle schoolers and high schoolers separated as much as possible. We've ordered new lockers for the middle school building so that the 7th graders will have their lockers over in the DMS building, which wasn't the case in past years. And then also Chalice's office is now in the DMS building, so there's always going to be administrative support in the building, and we're also going to kind of rotate through that space between myself, Chalice, and Brandy Harris, our counselor, just making sure that we're building connections with all of our students across the board. We also have a welcome back to school event on September 7th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is an opportunity for all of our students and families to come in and kind of meet new staff members, reconnect with returning staff members, and also get a feel for what to expect when school starts. And then there's 3 more things. The last really important thing about building specific stuff is our non-negotiables and goals for the year. So we sat down as an admin team and kind of developed the 3 things we really want to focus on, keep it simple, and make sure that we filter all of the decisions we make through kind of this lens. And so we have Honker Pride, which is something that was around prior to me. I can't remember. Okay.
and it stands for personal responsibility, respect, integrity, dedication, and embrace the community. And we're gonna have those Honker Pride posters put up all over the school and all the classrooms. And then our 3 non-negotiables this year that we're really gonna focus on are no cell phone use during class time. Cell phones can only be used before school, after school, lunch, and passing time. Making every minute count in every class every day. And then planner use in every class every day. We have these really nice planners, and we wanna make sure students know how to use them and are using them. So just kind of wanted to bring that to your attention. The one that you might get calls on or questions about is the cell phones. It's a really hot button issue with almost every student having cell phones now. And so we know you'll support us on that as we continue to make learning a priority in our building. Last 2 quick things, PE uniforms. There's a PE uniform store on our Honker online store for this upcoming year. The uniforms are optional, but they're super cool, so the kids will want to get those. And we want to promote more Honker Pride within our student body. And then for athletics, our practices started this week on August 14th, and we'll kick off the sports newsletter starting the first week of September.
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. You might want you guys get all the newsletters, like you might want to do all the time of calls or the same issue about cell phones. So you can see that's going to be a fight, but she wanted to hit it off that you're going to get a lot of calls on that. But the concept is during academic time, no phones. Distractions. Pardon?
I think that's an issue.
It is, but I just want to make sure you know you're going to get called on it. So.
Good evening, and I want to welcome new board members. I look forward to working with you guys and getting to know you, you getting to know us. We are always have our doors open, and you're welcome to come down for a tour. It's been a little while since you've been in the elementary schools. We'd love to have you for a tour, and if you could stand it, maybe a corn dog and some cheater tots or something like that. Lots of things down there all the time. So registration is happening this week for the elementary school as well. Currently we have about 220 kids registered, and we left our enrollment off at 374 last spring. So a little ways to go, but doing pretty well with it, and we'll finish it up this week, and then we'll have some stragglers. I wanted to visit with you a little bit about hiring. We are not fully hired, and so my hope is that the board and Mr. Carter would allow us to bring new employees to a meet and greet next month so that you can put faces with names. So when you see them at Safeway or an event, you kind of at least know who they are, what they're teaching. And so we would really love to be able to do that with you as a board next month. We do have two teachers per grade level, but we hired someone yesterday. So I'd like to wait till we're fully hired next month and bring that to you guys so we can make sure we have everybody in the spot that they're going to stay in. Right now, I'd love to have another 3rd grade teacher, 6th grade teacher, and an ELD teacher. So if you know someone that has a bachelor's degree that's interested in teaching for our district, please send them our way. We have a little bit of a project of passion with mentoring. Mr. Counts and I have done quite a bit of work in this area. We're really excited for year 2. We are doing it without as much grant funding as we had last year, but we're very excited in our 2nd year. And the reason that we created a very intensive mentoring program in this district is to help recruit and retain teachers in our district. And we feel like we had quite a bit of success as far as the training that we provided and the structure that we provided with our students. So something that I wanted to bring to the board that is really kind of fun is that just today, EOU has a rural teachers corps that is grant funded, and they provide some financial assistance to students that want to teach in rural areas. And we have a recipient in our district of some funding for that. It's Tate Lytle. EOU came down and did a video of Mr. Lytle and why he decided to teach in a rural area and where his roots are, why he chose the Lakeview community. That was released today. It's on YouTube, and it's really a great little testament to bringing back our own and our Grow Your Own program in our community to retain our teachers.
Would you send that to the board too?
I don't have everybody's cell number, but I can certainly get it to Tandy and she could forward it. But it's a 5-minute little watch, but it's
really great. So.
It's good.
Yeah, Tate, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, he's pretty low-key in this. We have kindergarten camp going on right now, so that's kind of our transition year for our students. So we have a bunch of bright-eyed little kindergartners that are there this week, and they are learning how to go down the slide the correct way and go through the cafeteria line. And I told the board a story earlier today about a little guy that showed up. He was very excited for school, and he didn't wait for mom or dad or anybody. He just came on to school. Thankfully, he just lives a block or so away. One of the things that our new board members may not know is that we started a summer food program for the first time in our district, and it's something we've wanted to move towards for a long time, but we have wanted to address our food insecurities in this county and in our area. And so we started a summer food program where anyone K through 18, birth through 18 could come for breakfast and they could come for lunch. And we sponsored that at the 88 cafeteria this summer. We were very glad to be able to move that direction. Our buildings are clean, they've been cleaned up and ready to roll. Floors do look fantastic. So we've had teachers trickling in and starting to get their classrooms ready. They're excited to come back. Our first day of school is September 6th, and our back to school nights are September 7th. We will start and go from 4 to 5 so that teachers that have kids or parents that have kids in both buildings can go to ours and then head to the high school. We don't have a lot of connection with union on this board. We certainly did with our last, but our union back to school barbecue is at 2 o'clock on September 10th. You're all welcome to come, and they do a barbecue. I will warn you now, they are hoping for some garden cleanup in the greenhouse for people that are going to that. So I wanted to give you some forewarning with that. And then do you guys have any questions for me or for Mr. Gauss? All right, thanks.
All right, so I'm Jen Schultz, I'm the Student Services Director, and I have a lot of jobs, but today I just want to celebrate something really exciting that happened in our program. So Dr. Carter challenged us to use our Strengthening Mental Health, which is actually called Community Care Demonstration Project through ODE, in a way that would support kids in the summer. And there's like a lot of restrictions and a lot of things. So if I could have Kim stand up. This amazing woman worked with me to create a really, really great program. And then I took off for Italy and I left her to run it. And she did a really amazing job. In fact, she was able to call the district office if she needed any support. And we had a backup plan if she got sick. She went every single day. She never called the DO. She didn't even text me in Italy. And she solved every problem. She's really quite amazing. So if you guys can give her a round. Yeah, I'm actually thinking, Susan, we need to grow her into a teacher because her skills are fantastic. So that's your next plan, Kim. But basically what we did was we used our community care demonstration project money, and we hired Kim and then 4 interns with that money, and then 4 interns with Sean Gerber's money. So we had 8 interns, which were all high school girls. It didn't have to be girls, but that's who applied. They were amazing. And they worked with Kim. We ran 8 weeks of summer camp that were focused on building kids' sources of strength. So Sources of Strength is a program that's upstream in suicide prevention. And so, I mean, we weren't heavy in that at all. In fact, if you were to ask the kids, what are your sources of strength, they wouldn't necessarily be able to tell you, but what we did was tap into all those things that could be kids' sources of strength. So your community, the things that you can do as an individual to bring yourself joy, your personal strengths. So we ran 8 weeks of camp. They were 4 days long because we're going to work on practicing that 4-day school week a little bit. And they were organized by themes, and I've missed one, Kim, so help me out. We had Art Week, Rock Week, Mad Scientist Week, My Community Week, Sports and Games Week, Outdoor Week, Recycling Week. Which week did I miss? Think on that. All of our staff, all 9 of them, were trained in conscious discipline, which is a trauma-informed behavior management system that really helps adults help kids engage, solve problems, regulate their emotions, do all of those things, which was awesome. And all of our, even our interns, and I was telling our interns, I'm like, this is golden, because you will use conscious discipline in every relationship you have from here on out. And you'll probably have your spouse or partner say, stop treating me like a kindergartner. But it's golden stuff. We also, the camps were 4 days long, and it was $10 or $100 a week, or $60 for full-time and $60 for part-time. We had a total of 22 kids who attended camps, which if you took each one of the camps that they attended was 123 weeks of camp. We had 436 days of camp, like individual kids doing it, and then 2,619 hours were attended at camp. And all of that was based on our Hi Mama roll. Like we took roll when they arrived, we took roll when they left. So those are true, hardcore, real numbers, down to the hour. We had phenomenal feedback.
And I want to celebrate that. Parents loved all the activities. Kids wanted to come. Kids signed up for maybe only 1 or 2 weeks. They wanted more weeks. Unfortunately, I was already in Italy and we already done all the purchasing, so we were
And also,
really
we're
stuck.
broke for that, sorry. We spent all the money.
Yeah. And then we did get some tough feedback, which is really great. I love that. So we did have a parent who was upset about the amount of television that we watched, which we actually followed the Division of Early Learning and Care's guidelines, which is no more than an hour a day, and it can't be more than the physical activity that you do, and it has to be for a purpose that connects to education and your link. So the particular week that was heavy, I think, was the Mad Scientist week when we were using the TV to show how to do all of the Mad Scientist experiments, and then we would do the Mad Scientist experiments. So we reflected on that, and Kim's just going to get really a lot better at doing those science experiments by herself. So I think that is everything. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Or
This is a great pilot, so we're hoping this will continue.
It was only the best.
It was Spy Week!
I was gonna
It was
say,
such a great week that I forgot. Spy Week was really amazing. They made like disguises with glasses and like little Fimo noses. They were hilarious. The other thing that the kids did was every week they made a book of memories from that week, so they have pictures of them in their disguises. Miss Holzman had 3 kids attend camp this summer, so she can show you some really phenomenal books.
2 thumbs up. And the high school students, I actually had one tell me today, man, I missed that job already. They really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get some teachers out of that, honestly.
Good. You want to hear? Thank you.
Under our financial report.
All right, so we're going to go over to the, it's going to be June 30 year end with our collections, our revenue collections of a little over 11 million. In our general fund, that's all expensed out. And within our general fund, we ended the year with 262,000 in rollover. So it helped us some of the help out for this year. Along with that, and then we have the expenses from last year, which is just under 11 million, keeps it 2,200,000. And then we have about 5 million in collections from other funds. Those are other state funds restricted for grants, and also includes our ESSER funds. With that, I don't have much more. Nothing for this year yet. We'll get that to you next board meeting. But I'd really like to know what y'all would want to see going forward from me or Ann, whoever's here, so we can get that done. And what any questions y'all have going forward that we can answer easily.
One thing I'd like to have, I think it would help the board out, is do one special fund per month. One special fund to explain what it is, what the money's for, and how, and the parts of it, or why it's there, why we have the constraints of the fund. Would that be beneficial to you? Because you look at all those accounts, you don't know what they mean, but you know what it is. It's like if we're doing title, would that help a lot, especially new board members? That'd be something like Steve?
I think so, yeah. I have a big list already, because I'm just learning into it.
And I'm sure as we review it and we see this.
Yes, the official copy.
You probably will be getting calls going, what does this mean?
That's good. I'm calling any of that stuff, that's important.
Any questions, whenever you have a question, come ask or call, and
Yeah.
I'll do my best to
And
answer.
we'll start with the bigger accounts, start with the multi-million-dollar ones and do that. Help you out with your fiduciary responsibility. Okay.
Excellent.
But I
Thank you.
do appreciate the charts. I'm a very visual person, so thank you for this.
And that did definitely ended better than what earlier projections throughout the year.
Yeah, we were projecting.
Showing negative numbers.
Yeah, it was like negative 600.
And once we get the OAG farm bill, we've always spent that money, general fund will get that money reimbursed, so we'll have that 200,000.
All right, old business, I don't see if we have anything else. So we're moving on to new business, we've got the agreement for legal services.
So we went through all the lawyers, the best ones, we can get the best deal, the one that has the full service, so Miller Nash is the full service one. We've also used them, and they've done good service for us the last 2 years with the audit. We had that special audit case. So by keeping them, I think we only sign a 1-year agreement. That'll let us know if we're happy with them or not. Any questions about the proposal? Okay.
Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agreement for legal services as presented.
Seconded.
Alrighty. All in favor?
Okay.
All right, moving on to homeschool requirements number 2.
So, I asked to have this moved from the consent agenda to new business because I had some questions and concerns about it. One of them was I've been attending these meetings since January and I had not heard this concern brought to the board, and knowing that it had to be read twice before being approved, I was very surprised to see it in the consent agenda. Especially after reading it over, and I've read it over several times. I just finished taking notes on it last evening, and I got lots of them. So there's a lot of concerns on there. Is this an amendment to IBDJA then?
This is an AR, so this is the superintendent's responsibility. So what I'm trying to do is follow past practice.
Okay.
A couple of words I know I've talked to one of our board members, and if you look at homeschool, online programs, take electives, must need to be 2. One of the compromises might be, say, ideally, that way it's not a requirement in case somebody can't take it 2. So this is an AR, so it's under my perusal to do, but I was just trying to run it by the board to get feedback.
Yeah, because like I said, I see a lot of, and some of them are little things. I think, and I'm looking at this with 2 hats on. I'm looking at it from a board member's perspective and how this works for the school, which is important. I'm also looking at this as a parent who homeschools and has my daughter come in to the school for ag classes. So with that said, some of these are, questions like from a parent side, and some of them are from the school side.
So why don't we, you and I meet later about the parent side.
Okay.
And then the board side, let's go from there.
Okay. So, that's not my phone.
Yeah, no,
I had to check earlier because my female dog in heat got out, and so I wanted to make sure everything was good. So one of the things was that I really think it needs not restricted to electives only, but core classes. We're trying to grow our students and grow our student population. One of the ways is our school has lost a lot of families to homeschooling. And if we bring them in and allow them to take some of these core classes too, they can see, okay, this could be a good viable option for my kids. And I knew some, I want to say their last names, they've moved, were the Gardners. They started homeschooling, but their kids were geniuses.
I'm sorry, we really can't use parents' names without their permission.
Okay.
So I apologize.
So I won't say any more names, but when their kids got to a certain level in math, the mom said, hey, this is beyond my ability. And so the kids enrolled at the high school for the math classes. Well, if you had said, sorry, that's a core class, then these kids would be suffering as a result. So I think that needs, and then what is a core class versus an elective? A science class can be considered both. So that's an issue. How do you determine space and materials? I think that needs to be established.
We have practice for that, so.
Okay. Let's see. The proposed enrollment system I think is good, but I think there's room for improvement, including looking beyond right now. I would change it to number 1, returning Lakeview High School daily middle school students, then Lakeview Academy. Then one I added in was Lake County School District 7 charter school. I know we don't have one, but who's to say in the future?
Yeah, but you
And that
can't
should
legally
happen.
can't legally put that in there until
Okay.
that's what becomes day otherwise. Yeah, it's ex post facto.
Right, I'm just, yeah. I would do returning homeschool students, and then new homeschool students, then charter schools, and then online program students. But then, again, I already said, how do you determine what's core versus elective?
I wrote that down. If you want to give me this list, I'll be glad to look at them and have some answers for what's on there.
Yeah, but see, there's a lot of stuff that's conflicting, like the sports medicine, you know.
Some of those courses though have course, if you look at the syllabus, because we can't cover everything. So the syllabus has requirements that we can't, you know, that if they're going to get a certification, so we can't modify those. So if we put those in, this thing would be 25 pages just for that. So there's a lot of things, this is just a summary outline.
Yeah.
So it's an AR to give the guidelines. When I met with homeschoolers before, I've covered this. I would like to get your list from you, and then I'll see if I can modify some of this and bring it back to the board if I want to modify it, if it fits our needs. I also have to sit down with the principals and make sure they fit the core study. The core studies are sent to the state and they're approved by the board. So I can't really modify those. And some of them have requirements for universities. So an example is they have so many things, you know, classes and how many classes capped. So it wouldn't matter if it's elective before the homeschooler will not be able to take that course. And the same thing in elementary.
I still don't see why they wouldn't be able to.
It's something I'll consider. It's something I will consider.
Okay.
If I can make it work, I will. Anytime I make it work for a kid, I will. But the problem is I gotta make sure that we keep the integrity of our program and we fit the requirements that are required by the state.
Right, no, you need to definitely keep the requirements. But I think, you know, there's some stuff that needs clarification. Enrollment will be based on a semester. Students will not be able to enroll any other time unless they're new to a district.
Right.
What
That's
happens,
policy.
but what happens if the student moves here mid-year? Or what if it's a homeschooling family that, for whatever reason, says, hey, we just can't, it's not working out?
Yeah, and we have that option, and the superintendent has that option to work with the curriculum and the principals to add people. So we're able to do that. This is not comprehensive everything. There are other policies. This is just an AR that I want you guys to look at. I'll be glad to take your input, and I'll bring back some potential changes.
There is a lot of it.
But some of it won't be able, some of it I won't be able to change, but I will look at it as good as I can. And like I said, if we say ideally on the two courses, that takes care of some programs.
Right. Yeah.
So I look forward to getting your list from you, and then I can go through it with everybody.
Okay. Yeah. And then just so you know, you have FFA in classes. That is an organization. It is not. It's like a club and activities. And then, what about the TAG program? Would homeschool students be eligible for something like that or not?
That falls under different policies, so it would be included in this.
Okay, so that wouldn't be like activities
It's
types?
the same with, special education, all that kind of services, those fall under different laws and requirements.
Okay,
This is just for homeschool.
yeah. The student check-in for upon arrival and all
And
that?
that's a requirement from the state for safety.
Really, because, so that would be a new requirement for us, old requirement for the state?
No, we have new requirements for safety that we're looking at, just like I know buzzing people in and everything, and we have a new attendance person.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of new stuff happening, and you'll see that in the handbook.
Yeah.
So I look forward to your list, and I'll see if I can accommodate it to fit some of our requirements.
Okay. But my last question on this is, and then I'll give you my list on it.
Okay.
But on your dances and other school event eligibility.
Right.
So if the student has to sign the student handbook and they've registered with the classes, they're a registered student. So why are they not eligible for the activities?
There's certain rules and requirements of each charter, each school, each organization, things like that. But also, too, we have nothing to hold them accountable for behavior. So we have guest passes they have to fill out and all that. There's a whole bunch to that. So it's not an easy answer.
Yeah,
Just
because
add it
I
to
would
your
think
list
that
and
there
I'll
are they're accountable for the behavior because, with signing the student handbook, but that's.
We hope so, but we also remember they're minors, so we have to have parents involved.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to getting that list from you.
All right, moving on to the OSBA policies, OSBA. excuse me,
Well, Mr.
policy.
Chairman, we will need to add that to the board next year, next month.
Yeah, that's
Put it on our
fine.
reports,
Yep,
just
yep.
put it on our reports.
So 2 is also added to.
The homeschool agreement.
5 added as well.
No
Which is
motion.
a meet and greet.
No, it just goes forward and then we'll look at AR. So this is in
Right,
fact.
there was no action taken, so yeah,
Yeah.
it'll just be as a
Just goes
business.
forward.
month,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I interrupted you.
yeah. No, you're right. So, yes, let's move on to number 3, OSBA policy, recommended revisions by the OSBA.
I also asked for that to be added to the agenda from the consent agenda. There has been an added revision that was, as you said earlier, suggested by OSBA, and I'm going to go over where that is on here, but what I wanted to talk about amending on it, here it is, page 122, is on the public comment for oral comment, is currently we are requiring 24 hours ahead of time that it's an intent to speak is given to the board secretary. And I know this is something that we obviously will have to discuss. I believe in freedom of speech, and sometimes we find out about something the night before or the morning of and we want to talk about it, but we can't because we didn't submit an intent to speak 24 hours before. I would like it to be able to say, we request that you complete and submit 24 hours.
So point of order then on the policy. This is a second reading of this policy correction. So
Okay.
what this is, you're actually looking at a different policy revision.
Okay.
All this motion is for is to allow people online to be able to make a comment,
Okay.
since we allow that. So right now, if someone writes to in a written comment, 24 hours in advance, and
Correct.
that's it. Now, if you want to look at a change proposal, we have to bring that to the board at a different
Okay.
time to change the timing. So what this is for, this policy that you pulled out, is only to add the part about online can comment.
Okay, so then I would like to add that for, I guess, next month then.
So what we can do then is we'll ask the board chair to, I think, at a future agenda items to look proposal to look at the policy again in general.
Okay.
So this
Yeah, so-
this motion is only, Mr. Chairman, for the part about to add online people can make a comment if they follow the current policy. Ms. O'Brien wants to change the policy, which is fine, the board has that option, but it would not be at this time.
Yeah, and free speech is obviously out there still. I mean, people come to our meeting and try to disrupt the meeting and be asked to.
Right, yeah.
But they can speak to any of these items and they're directed to the staff to talk about things that aren't related to, our policies that we're setting. For, our board packet that comes out that someone would obviously want to speak to, they could get a hold of anyone prior to the meeting. I mean, they actually have 29, 30 days a month to get a hold of us, but when we get, not enough time for staff to respond to something, or even board members to respond and get blindsided, I mean, it is difficult to respond appropriately during the meeting, during the meeting. So, our doors are open, the staff administration doors are open to come and comment. I mean, if it's not being addressed, we had a training today, there's a chain of command and order of how we do things. So if there's a public comment, it's likely, being addressed in some other fashion at a lower level that ought to be,
So, I'm calling the point of order, because that's my job. So the point of order will be this one. This looks like a new policy. So right now, what I would do, I recommend to the board that they pass this policy to keep us up to date. It would take 2 months to add, if you guys want to modify the policy, and that discussion you need to have. And see if you want to have the policy at the night, that's up to the board.
So as you stated before, this is the second reading of a policy that we adopted back in June.
Right.
And
Yeah, I
and the
understand.
only addition here was.
The only addition is that comment. Now, if you want to change the policy
not-
about the timeline, that's the board's right,
Okay.
and you need to add that as a.
And this is a requirement by the state to allow, just like our meetings online, electronically, someone can publicly comment. And so that's why this is not a fundamental change of our policy, so.
But what you guys are discussing
This
would be
needs to be-
online, and
yes,
that's
it
fine,
would be,
you have
that's
that
why,
option.
yes.
That's
So if,
No, I understand that.
Okay.
so, I guess point of order, I'm happy with the way the policy is, and I just stated that. But if there's other board members that would like to change this policy, then yes, that's gonna have to go through the process. And if you guys want that added, then that's what I also would, I'm asking you now, would you want to look at this as, something that we ought to change? And if so, then we'll add it to next month's agenda under new items for the board meeting.
I think I would like to dig into it too. I mean, if you bring something up at the meeting and you don't have an answer for it, you wait 30 days for an answer. If you have something you want to talk about, you don't get your stuff in, well then you wait 30 days to talk, and then possibly another 30 for an answer.
So part of that's true, but the board at that time, when someone makes a comment, if you look at the policy, the board then can direct the superintendent to answer it if they have the answer at that time, or direct the superintendent to answer before that, so you don't have to wait 30 days.
So,
I mean, so like right now, if someone came to say, I want to know about the pool or something, in our relationship, we're sending kids there, then that would be, if I have the answer, then I could answer it, or maybe one of my staff has the answer. If they don't, then I will be getting the answer, and I'll get the answer before 30 days. So I will go answer back to that person, and let the board know what I did. So it's not just 30, so, we wouldn't want anyone to hang. So what I could do though is next month, I could bring the policy back with that one revision saying they could bring comment at the meeting, and that'd be up to the board to discuss it. Right now, my recommendation is to cover the online with this policy, and it will be changed. And it won't, if this edition is approved by the board tonight, it won't change that policy we've been talking about, because even online, it will still be the same.
I'm happy with it the way it is.
Pardon?
I said I'm happy with it the way it is.
Okay. Is that a motion?
So I move to accept it the way it is.
So I'd second the motion and then ask for discussion further. We've had discussion right now. There's two of us that like to look at it more. I think what Mr. Carter has explained is that, no one's waiting 30 days to get an answer. Public comments usually because you're upset about something and want to be heard in a public setting. It's at least how I've experienced on this board, how usually public comment gets received. And that's not saying that people are wrong in doing it that way, but it's almost always it's not up to this board to make a change to what's being happening at that lower level. So we're usually going to be directing people back to staff to handle that. And they're going to handle it appropriately. If they don't, then it comes to us on an appeal. So if we're going over something on our agenda, people can comment on things that are on the agenda. But public comment is something for not on our agenda, that isn't being discussed in a way that has already been prearranged so that nobody's coming in blind. So if someone wants public comment and then an answer at a meeting, they need to notify us ahead of time so we can get prepared. And it's not a way that we're trying to deflect, an issue. We just want to make sure that we understand the issue so that we can actually not just sit here going, and that's not just me, that's all of us. We're protecting the board by that way and the staff, and nobody gets blindsided. The doors are open. Everybody's offices, if you got a complaint, go and talk to those who the chain of command goes through. So I'm totally happy with the public comment the way it is. But again, a motion and second been made, a call for, a vote.
Again, all we're voting on is.
Sorry. We had two opinions. The motion was made to keep it as it is. Yeah.
I'm interrupting into what you're talking about. But as a lawyer, I've looked up the statute, and as you all know, you don't have to allow any comment at all, period. But if you're going to, public comment is not public questioning. Public comment is, I don't like what you're doing, period, or I love what you're doing, period. So if you're going to have comment, you need to not necessarily say it's going to be a question.
Right, so that kind of brings us back to this point, is that, let's move this forward. We have a simple policy in front of us that, yes, we're now talking about in new business. It's been read once, this is our second reading, the change that's before us, I'd like to hear a motion on the change. It's adding the electronic version.
I move that we add the electronic version to the
Current policy.
current.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the OSB policy as recommended, which we've gone at length to talk about. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion approved, 4-0. And then Amanda, if you want to get with the staff later and we'll talk about next agenda items, we can on that. So under consent agenda, do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, announcements.
We got school coming. So one thing I'm excited about too, I want to make sure that the board knew that on the Thursday during the roundup, our staff will have they have assignments they have to do on their own, but if they do need to work the roundup in various routes, they're able to do that without penalty. So I want to make sure I can, the board, we follow your guidelines and our administration has done that.
Great, appreciate that. All right, next board items, I see number 5 as the meet and greet for new staff. I'd like to get that also added. And if possible, just so staff can get out of here, let's move that up in the agenda.
Yeah, when they come in, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
put it
just
there.
get
We'll
right
just
to
do it
that, so just to
Thank you.
make that aware for them to know.
We can actually put it at the superintendent's report.
Exactly, yeah, that'd be fine to put under that area. And then number 6, was our homeschool requirements.
The ARs, yeah. I'll meet with
that.
Ms. O'Brien and we'll try to see what we can accommodate.
Cleaned up there, so, I think that would be it on those. Again, if you also guys want to talk about that policy any further, and just, board member Hall's assignment with fire, so.
Yeah, so on
Just
policy,
excuse
all I'll
for
do is bring
this
the
meeting.
current policy now with this updated piece, and then the board will just have to discuss it.
All right.
And Darlene, I think that, do you want me to bring the targeted feedback survey from LSDA?
That'd be great, yes, absolutely, yeah, that we talked about earlier today.
Good catch, sorry, I forgot that already.
Great. And
Do this, talk about doing the board superintendent.
quarterly checks.
The agreement.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good thing to have on there too.
Service agreement.
Yeah, the services.
I'll bring the first one to you, great. What I want to do on that is.
Board superintendent operating.
So I'll send it to you guys and then just reply back directly to your feedback, so I try to get it, then I'll say, hey, this is the feedback I got from different boards to address the concerns, and then bring it to the board. Does that work?
Sounds good.
Well, one more, the stipends have to go on for your guys' vote.
Yeah, do this one
As an action
first.
item.
And it takes an action item.
It does. It takes
I mean,
an
something we need to discuss, obviously discussed it, but.
Put an action item in there for you, and we'll have all that to you as well, because I haven't seen it.
All right. That'll be a fun discussion. All right, seeing no other items on the agenda, we're at number 12. All right, thank you. So all in favor? Aye.
John, thank you guys. Nice job.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all the reporters.